Let's go ahead and get started. This is Mark East with the South Dakota State Medical Association. First off, I want to welcome you all to this presentation. In just a second here, I'll turn it over to Stacy, who will introduce our speaker. Before doing so, I wanted to let everybody know that's called in that we have all phone lines placed on mute to try to eliminate any background noise. But as the presentation, we'll open up the phone line so you can ask our speaker any questions that you may have. With that, Stacy, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Mark said, my name is Stacy Fredenberg, and I'm the Communications Manager for the South Dakota Foundation for Medical Care. As part of the Great Plains Quality Innovation Network, we're excited to be partnering with the South Dakota State Medical Association to offer this 10-part series of webinar briefs. Key patient care topics will be presented in 15 to 20-minute webinar segments, highlighting provider and clinician perspectives while introducing corresponding resources and tools. The webinar on expected expertise will focus on working at the top of the license. Efficient healthcare teams are comprised of individual members who understand their role and feel valued for their contributions. Delegated tasks appropriately saves time and reinforces a patient-centered focus. With that, I introduce our speaker, Jim Bockel. Graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy from North Dakota State University, Mr. Bockel spent the next 24 years owning and operating retail pharmacies in Montana and North Dakota. In 1996, he was named Assistant Administration and General Manager of Medical Arts Clinic Outpatient Services in Montana. Working physician-owned medical, he was challenged with developing retail, infusion pharmacy services, DE services, home health respiratory services, and clinical drug trials. Acting as physician liaison to clinic administration, he assisted with developing quality initiatives and special clinic projects. He's been administrative officer at Brown Clinic for the past 17 years, overseeing the implementation of an EMR system and upgrade to meet the requirements of PQRS and meaningful use reporting. Brown Clinic implemented the care team concept, their support staff, became first NCQA Level 3 2014 standards PMH certified clinic in the region, and participated and started the first accountable care organization in eastern South Dakota. Brown's data gathering and sharing capabilities are state-of-the-art, and the quality initiatives drive their reputation for innovative care. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us today. I'll turn the presentation over to you.
Okay, we're not picking you up on the audio.
Star 6 to unmute.
I'm paging through here to see if we can figure out why on mute or why we can't hear him. So, I'm going to try one thing here.
Mark, it looks like he maybe is looking for his, let's send him the phone number. He might have got disconnected. Can you tell him the phone number? Yeah.
Send it to him in an email right now.
Got it pulled up, so I'm guessing that he's trying to call in again.
Okay. Not quite how we lost him. back.
All right. Did you mute it, or I don't know what happened on our side, but
Not sure. We lost you right from the beginning, but go ahead, Jim. You're on now.
okay. Let's start over. I guess welcome on for attending. Let's get that up here and get back on time. What I want to talk about today is how you put these teams together and identifying those functions. The things that I experienced due to the number of years that I've done it is why such really smart people get together in a team, come up with some fantastic ideas, and go out and have it fall so flat on its face on implementation. And one of the things that I guess I came across, and I can explain it, is that healthcare, we can be very technical, clinically orientated people, which are good doers. They're by nature reluctant to change, and nature to feel safe back in their clinical processes. So it becomes very difficult for them to look outside that box and implement change. In terms of a very successful team, number one, there should be good leadership. They should have, the people on there should be comfortable or change agents. Make sure that you have a shared vision, good vision, and effectively, so that you look at it from a variety of different perspectives, that should be multidisciplinary. When I effective leadership, that's the most important part of a successful team. Unless you have someone that's leading that team and that can articulate goals and objectives that other people will follow, will get behind, will embrace. And one of the definitions of leadership that I read someplace is that the ability to take people to a place where they're very uncomfortable and they wouldn't go by themselves. But that is the part of getting that team started is that effective leadership. The leader impart upon the rest of the team what their mission is, and you need to have people that will stay focused on what that mission is. Be able to delegate different roles and different tasks and duties to the team. To really communicate back with the team and keep the team in good communication. The way that we do it here is we recommend daily huddles. And whether you started at the beginning of your day or at the end of the day, the team reinforces what their objectives are, what works good, what doesn't work good, what do they need to change. It doesn't necessarily have to be at that point, but that daily huddle so that they can kind of get organized. Another part of a very effective team when you're dealing with change or different issues is the leader has to get comfortable, and the rest of the team members have to get comfortable with what I call fast failures. You need to not be afraid to make mistakes. You can't learn if you're not making mistakes. What needs to happen is you need to identify those mistakes as quickly as possible, take a step back, and start over again, learning from what mistake you had, which dovetails into the concept of having the daily huddles. What works and what doesn't work. Members need to be agents. They need to be flexible, and what we find in healthcare is a lot of our technical and clinical people aren't very comfortable with change or doing something different. They like structure. Structure is where they're comfortable. That's what we've taught people. Do the same task over and over and over and do it the same way, less chance for error, and that's the way we want things. Well, then, if you're a strong doer and you put them on a team that's supposed to be change or changing a process, it's very difficult for them to stay focused or even get behind the goals and objectives. Team members also need to be very respectful. This is, and I have at the bottom of their safe, a team needs to be where ideas can be brought up, and even though they may not be ideas that you necessarily embrace or endorse, team members have to feel that they're respected by everybody and that it's a safe place to bring up these new ideas, which leads to innovation. You need to be able to think out of the box. You need to have people on the team that are comfortable throwing ideas up on the wall, thinking out of the box, and letting people do that in a safe manner. Mission, the vision, the shared vision is that leader has to articulate, and the team members have to believe and aligned with that. Having that shared vision gives everybody that common identity, purpose for the team. The team needs a purpose. And so that alignment, the shared goals will provide cohesiveness for the team, and then that the team is actually accomplishing things and moving forward, that sense of commitment to their vision. Communication needs to be free-flowing. Good communication increases the interaction between the team members, which all leads to all of the other things, respect and safety. It is a problem. Communication amongst the team members and the leader will resolve conflict. It sets up expectations for the team. And when the team is done with the project, it's through communication that you celebrate the successes and provide the feedback to the system that you're trying to change, trying to fix, trying to solve, whatever you're using that team to do. I believe we should look at all types of issues, change, whatever, from the multidisciplinary perspective. We need everybody in the organization to be represented on that team so that we can take how all of the things that we do or changes that we make are going to impact different work groups or different other teams within the setting. So members, this is the real hard part. How do you interview people and pick these things out? And sometimes you just, through questions, through observation of watching them work, you can know which people are going to be good team members to do some problem solving or whatever. But they have to have initiative. They got to be self-starters. Got to be the first one in line. That's the kind of people that are going to be freaking innovative. They're going to be out there in front. They all have to be good citizens. They have to believe in the mission of the organization and what the goals and the objectives are, and they have to be able to articulate that. If you articulate the mission of the organization or what the goals are, we're a sense of community there. I think what works it is that people expertise or experience in the areas that you're asking them to work on as part of that team, whether it's a care team taking care of patients, whether it's a management team trying to come up with new operational things, but you got to have some experience in there. Can't say enough about people need to be respectful. Teams have to be safe places for the proper exchange of ideas, and people have to be willing to listen to anything that comes out. It's a good idea or it's not going to work for the team. And be flexible. If you're strict and rigid, sometimes being a team member is not necessarily a good place for you. In the interviewing process, when I talk to people, I ask them about their personal objectives to find out about initiative and where they want to go and what they want to do. Them explain the mission. and it means to them, and how committed they are to the organization. And another thing that I think is a key element of team members is that they need to be motivated by success. So it needs to drive them. They want to win. They want to be out there. They should be good communicators, and sometimes you just need an observation period to look at them to see what they're doing. Here's another phrase that I came upon that I think works really well or at least in my setting it does, and that's innovation. We are such entrenched process people and technical people. It's so hard to influence change in process in healthcare. So I call it disruptive innovation because no matter how we do this, no matter how successful the teams are, we disrupt everything, and we just have to work through there. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But what we're out here around clinic is when we're going to disrupt the process. It's innovation and it's disruptive. Get on board. So that is about the extent of what I can share with you. I'm open for questions, I guess.
Stacy, can you talk a little bit about how you tackled your initial culture change when you came into Brown Clinic and started implementing this team concept? What are the steps you took to try to create that kind of culture?
Let me go to that slide about leadership. Number one, what we did is we familiarized ourselves with the culture of the clinic was. And we had to get the alignment of the partners. We started at the top and said, what do you want to do? Is everybody on board with this? And we spent a lot of time working on alignment, working on what those goals and objectives should be and what that shared vision should be. Once physicians were on board with it, then it's time to take it down to the next level and start to change our processes that were barriers to those goals and objectives. And so, number one is that alignment of the players is, if you don't have 100% alignment, it's going to be a struggle. You have to work very hard at making sure that everybody's on board with the vision. And frankly, once it happens, you'd be surprised how easy everything else falls into place. We talk about it. What's keeping us from this goal? Well, we need our team to be doing this. Okay, change that process, and so it works. Have the huddle. Yeah, that worked. Share it with everybody else, and you just keep moving on, moving forward.
Just a reminder, all phone lines are open.
This is Nancy Beaumont. And thank you so much thank you so much for sharing the excellent tips with us. Can you just talk a little bit about what the impact of has been as far as employee retention and employee satisfaction and integral to some of the innovative change in culture?
Number one, when we started this, and Brown Clinic has always had a rich history of long-term employees. We've had employees that through my tenure here that at the 45-year mark in terms of being with Brown Clinic. The employees were very difficult to get on board to change. That's not how we do things at Brown Clinic. Newer employees, much easier to articulate the goals and objectives and recreate a new vision. as we transitioned through that, and some of the older employees that didn't deal very well with change at all and really struggled with getting on board of the new processes and tasks, they left. Not so that it created a problem. Our turnover has been 10% or less almost a year that I've been here. So we've been pretty good in terms of being able to maintain, well-trained and committed staff. Physician-wise, we don't turn over our physicians very much at all. When we did our analysis and we surveyed the physicians and if shared the goals and objectives, almost 100%. Same survey given to the staff, we started out at about 55%. We have worked to bring that up now so that the division, they do share the goals and objectives and where we've been taking our own clinic over the last several years.
This is Nancy McDonald, and I have a question for you with regards to, you had mentioned that you've got some newer employees that were able to articulate the goals and objectives of the projects that you were working on, and I'm just curious if you have with those younger or newer employees that aren't necessarily in the C-suite that happen to be really good leaders. Come across that they're really in that C-suite level?
The answer to that is yes. They're not training the generation to move in that direction, and they are excellent technicians. And those are the people that you need to get things done. Those are our process people. Those are our line people. Those are things that drive in day-to-day healthcare. But they're not. What healthcare criticism of what healthcare did in the past, and I can put myself in that category. If you were a good doer, they elevated you to management position and to a C-suite with any management training or skills whatsoever. It was just really difficult for me moving up. I was a line assist, filling prescriptions every day, and my role in management was to solve problems. And when I was good at solving problems, but I couldn't implement them because nobody could see the same vision that I could see. And as I started to evolve in my thinking on how to get things done and making sure that the key things were alignment and embracing that vision, it all started to fall in place and work so much better. So we have probably, I would say we've tackled every single thing out there that the industry has talked about where we need to change, from documentation to EMR to a second EMR. We found we didn't like the first EMR because it didn't allow us to do the things we needed to do that we were learning how to be good at. So we evolved into not just a second generation of the first EMR, we changed EMRs completely. And just before we got that done, we decided to seek certification for a patient-centered medical home, and we obtained level 3. And all of the reporting data, all of the sharing that requires the person to make sure that they enter all that stuff into data fields that can be queried, and we can collect that data. And they had to change their processes. We're in. And we did back when we started talking about scribes years ago, and big physicians and other providers more efficient. There wasn't any fighting. We were all on board, and we just started, whoever needed a scribe to help them, we gave it to them. Well, we're about to go to a generation of scribes, which is online scribes, and every single provider in the group will have one. So their time can be spent caring for the patient and talking to the patient instead of documenting.
This is Mark, and I have a question for you. Part of what I'm hearing you say is getting the right people on staff is critical, and that's important to do, and it's something you need to be careful of during the interview process. And so I have a two-part question. One, much of that, but you also mentioned that you were a line person, you were filling scripts, and you didn't have the experience to how to implement things. So my two-part question is, one, how much of that is a natural person who's a doer, is assertive, can be taught, and then what do you do when you have a team that's made up of both? Because most people don't have the luxury of just reforming their team. So how do you still be effective? How do you still create change working with the team that you have?
It might sound a little self-serving, but I don't think it is. Number one, I believe that in this part of the world, that everybody comes to work with good initiative, good work ethic, and it takes a very effective leader to be able to mold and articulate the things that they want, that set the expectation. Some people drop out, but the vast majority of people, when you articulate where we're going and how we're going to go there, and they get aligned with that, whether it's physicians, whether it's our lab people, once they know where they're going, they'll move mountains. I can tell you, my best example, when Brown Clinic went independent, we were part of the system on Friday afternoon, and we asked the staff, we told them what the mission was, we were bringing it back to be independent, but had to open Monday morning on a new computer system without changing the schedules. Our staff came in over the weekend, and they converted the information and data out of one computer system into the schedules on a new computer system. We opened up at 7 o'clock Monday morning, and we never missed an appointment. Even older staff that I talked about that was somewhat resistant to change knew what the vision was. It was independent again. They were all on board. They were all aligned. If I asked them to pick up this building and move it across the street, I believe they would have done that, because even the IT people told us it wasn't possible. We couldn't do it. And we got in front of everybody and said, this is what we have to do. So I believe that for the most part, when you get that alignment and you get that vision and it's shared, and for the most part, the people that live in this part of the world, their team will accomplish anything. Success is their outcome. But it does start with that leadership. They got to believe in what you're doing, and so leadership has to be able to articulate that. Well, for the opportunity to share my thoughts. It's been fun here at Brown Clinic.
We appreciate your sharing with us, and I just want to remind everyone that this webinar and the Provider Perspective Series is equals financial success, and it's going to be held at 12:15 again on June 6th. You can find additional information, tools, and resources for quality reporting and improvement at the Great Plains Quality Innovation Network. And the site is www.greatplainsquin.org. So appreciate and value your time and participation. Please take a moment when the webinar exits to complete the evaluation form. Thank you and enjoy your day.
Thanks.